What's up, guys? This is Carter Thomas with Coin Mastery TV special Bitcoin Cash on Coinbase edition. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. I think we're about to hit 70,000 subscribers. Wow. Unbelievable. Well, today we got some pretty wild news. We're coming in a little late today because of that. Really just waiting on Bitcoin Cash being listed for trading on GDAX and Coinbase. Now, this has been quite a 12, or I guess 15 hours since it started. But today what we're talking about is what's going on with everything. We're going to switch over to the other areas. We're going to talk really in depth about what's going on with Coinbase, what happened, really, most importantly, what it means for you in terms of price. And then we're going to talk about what this means for the future, how you can potentially play this. We're going to talk about what Charlie Lee's done with Litecoin. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the tax reform, tax implications, as we have been talking about. And full disclosure, if Bitcoin Cash does start trading and it looks like it's going to be a very good opportunity, we're going to cut this video short, or I'm just going to bolt on another video. That's why we're not doing it live today, because at the end of the day, I'm here to play the markets. So yesterday, as we saw, you saw the price kind of going all over the place, based on all these rumors. And then you saw this big dump that happened once they released Bitcoin Cash. So Coinbase came out and said, hey, we're going to start trading Bitcoin Cash. And if you remember a few days ago, on Sunday, I was setting up, on Sundays to do taxes, setting up an API with Coinbase, and there was a box for Bitcoin Cash, and that was kind of, I couldn't tell if it was a bug or not, so I didn't trade anything on that. But luckily I own a lot of Bitcoin Cash, or a fair amount, as if you've been watching these videos, as a hedge against Bitcoin, and really wasn't expecting this, mostly because I think this is gonna be really confusing for customers. So it's kind of surprising that this is what they decided to do. Now let's take a look here at what happened, kind of the timeline of events. Let me just delete this fib retracement just so that everyone out there doesn't get confused by anything. So Coinbase comes out and they post about how it's you can buy and sell Bitcoin Cash on Coinbase. Okay, so when you log into Coinbase now, anyone who logs in, you can now purchase Bitcoin Cash along with others. There's now a little green button right next to Bitcoin. And it's also, maybe this is a small detail, but it's the first choice and not the second choice. And that sort of stuff does matter from a conversion standpoint. Okay, so they came out with this. This was, I guess, 19 hours ago now. So let's say 3 o'clock Pacific time on Tuesday. Today's Wednesday. Now what happened was, as you can imagine, let's look at Bittrex for this. Yeah, I know there's better plugins. I just haven't installed them yet for these charts. But right around that time, you can see that there's a massive pump. And similarly speaking, they released it on GDAX, which is the back end of Coinbase, and the price just went completely bananas. It started at, I think, 3,000 or 4,000, and then it was going up and down, and then it finally peaked at 9,500. And it was clear that there was some crazy market manipulation going on, or who knows what, but they halted trading. This is where things get really sketchy. I'm just looking down so that I can switch these windows. The reason why it gets really sketchy is when you look back at the 24 hours before Coinbase told the world that they were going to be trading Bitcoin Cash, somebody started buying up a whole lot of this stuff. And as it got closer and closer, someone started buying even more. And while this was all happening, Roger Ver was on CNBC talking about Bitcoin. I mean, he's been doing this for a few weeks, but the last few days he's been doing this big. There's a weird conspiracy theory about somebody who's at CNBC is managing the Twitter account. They're promoting it, and I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to get into speculating, but the fact is, there was a huge run up. Somebody was buying a lot of Bitcoin before Coinbase announced it to the public. And similarly, not only did did someone buy up a lot, it spiked and it went to the highest possible price, and that's where it got locked in. So all things being equal, this looks super sketchy because it looks like somebody bought up a ton of Bitcoin Cash and then sold it all right at the top in an illiquid environment, and Coinbase just kind of hit the brakes and said, hey, there's too much going on here. Oh, here we go. Look at this. All right, well, we're going to watch this right now. I'm going to make sure that I'm all set on my buyers. Something. And so I'm just watching this, guys, because if this starts to dip a lot, I'm going to have to cut this short. But anyway, you could see what's happening. So that just went down from 9,500. We're down to 36, 35. You can see these coming through. I'm on the 1 minute. Let's switch this over to the 1 minute. Let's watch how this is affecting Bitcoin price. Bitcoin is moving up, getting a lot of volatility. We're seeing how this goes. Now, I have bids layered pretty low. So if this just hovers around this price as it stands on other exchanges, which you can see these prices happening right here, this is all going to change in real time. This will all even out because of the arbitrage. There will be some arbitrage available because the transaction time and fees are just impossible to try to get dialed in at the right time. Okay, so this is hovering at seemingly a quote unquote market price. All right, so this is what the liquidity is doing. There is enough buying and selling orders happening right now. Now, keep in mind, once this initial order set fills out, you will start to see some more price manipulation, because as the liquidity goes down, you're going to see people that have the ability to buy up more of the order books in real time. So keeping an eye on this. All right, so I'm not going to get too crazy. I'm going to probably, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to move this over, and we're going to keep this over on the side so that we can keep an eye on that the whole time, just in case we really need to, peace out. And I'm going to click off that status, and we've got the Bitcoin price over here. Let me refresh that just to make sure I've got the real-time API price. You guys can bear with me on this. Looks like, okay, good. It is changing. So Bitcoin's hovering right around 16.9. BCH, Bitcoin Cash, right around 37.5. Okay, nothing crazy happening. No need to panic. You can see Binance and Bittrex. Bittrex is not updating as fast as Binance. Everything's okay for now. Now, when this happened, it went to this crazy price, and people started to say, hey, this is super sketchy. In fact, it got so bad. Twitter and the crypto universe started getting so freaked out that there was a huge amount of backlash, and people saying, hey, this is BS, this is insider trading, to the point where Coinbase started to have to release statements. Okay, all the way to the point where the CEO, Brian Armstrong, he had to release a statement himself and say, we have a very strict employee policy. We have a very strict advisorship policy. All these things happened in order to protect from people leaking information. Now, whether or not that's, there's two parts of that. One is, did they make their best effort not to let it happen? And two, did it still happen anyway? And that's where it gets really, really sketchy, right? I mean, if someone at Coinbase knew that somebody was leaking this information, that's going to be very, very, very concerning. In fact, that it looks like there's going to be a lot of eyeballs looking into this. I haven't seen anything come out from the SEC. Obviously, that's going to take them a little while, but there will be some sort of investigation, I'm sure. I mean, the amount of money and the size of that jump is just too big. So it's very difficult to try and, put anything on it. So that's what's going on. I know a lot of you are probably thinking, well, what do you think, Carter? This is the kind of thing I just don't know, right? I mean, you can speculate all you want, but I have no idea. I do know that it's a $1.5 billion company and they have a lot of investors. And if they were dumb enough to do something like this, it would, not only would they go to jail, it would be like one of the biggest, it would hurt the the crypto ecosystem more than anything. So there is the amount of money they would make on Bitcoin Cash if there was insider trading is a drop in the bucket compared to the ramifications of that happening. So I think that's important to keep in mind, is that if this did happen, it was done by some rogue player who isn't involved in the growth of this. At least that's what I would think. I mean, when you look at the numbers, if you do look at this, Bitcoin Cash going up to 39.40, 39.50, it's cranking up. Bitcoin coming down to 16.7 in real time. I'm not too concerned about trying to chase these candles because I already own enough that I'm like, whatever. So it goes. Maybe I'll start doing some dollar cost averaging this week. I'll wait till the price settles down. But this is good. I mean, if all things being equal, it's going to make me plenty of money. So fine with that. I was really just hoping for a huge dip. Don't see one happening. If we do see one on the Bitcoin side, we'll make some sort of adjustment. But in the meantime, I'm just going to let this thing ride off. I'm not going to chase these candles. That was a decision I made an hour ago, even though it's very tempting to, especially looking at the 1 hour, right? If you switch it, or 1 minute, you could see this thing starting to build. You can see the volume. You can see the depth chart. Look at that thing. There's still a huge sell wall, which is coming down. Wow, look at that, 4,100. It's starting to move up. And this is where, I mean, I'm telling you guys, like, I would love to buy this right now. It would be perfect to buy this and try to really capitalize on this emotional state. But I wrote this down in my book, Don't Chase the Candles. And this is what makes it really hard, is moments like this. You got to stay disciplined, even though, look at this, 42, 43, keeps going up. But this is like, I practice what I preach, and I'm not going to get caught up in that. So, but you can see how, look at this. It just bounces down. 39. You see that 3,900 order in there? All these flash orders. That means the order book is super thin. That means that a lot of this is just people going nuts trying to manipulate it. Meanwhile, Bitcoin price is dropping down to 16.5. So that's interesting. I'm more interested in that, dropping below 1,600. This goes below 15. I'm really interested. But look, see, now it's starting to come down. You can see the candles. You can see people taking profits off of this sell. People that bought on the dip right here, selling it off around 26%, give or take. You're going to start to see the price change. That's why you never want to chase the candles, because the people that are playing in this know more than I do. And they have bigger budgets, and they can move more weight than I can. So I'm going to let that sit. Next thing I'm watching for is, obviously we're on the 1 minute, so there's not a whole lot you can do other than just really flash trading. Layer bids to try to catch some of these wicks, assuming they do drop down. Okay? I know I'm kind of bouncing around, but you kind of have to in situations like this, as we are, this is a bit of uncharted territory. So as it relates to Coinbase, I'm not saying that Coinbase is, they should have handled this better. They were talking about January is when you're going to get your coins. They started doing trading early. It's very confusing. Of all the coins to pick, I'm not sure Bitcoin Cash was the right one. But at the same time, throwing out accusations and, more importantly, getting fired up about this is not going to help you, or it's not going to help anybody. Wait till the facts come out. Don't get pissed off about it. Do something about it. What does this mean? What this means is that there's a lot of people that just sold all their Bitcoin Cash because they're so pissed off at Coinbase. And was that the right decision? I mean, maybe history may show them that it was the right decision, but it may not. But you never want to make those kind of bad decisions like that. See, like that's why you don't chase. That's why I'm glad I didn't chase the candle. This is uncharted territory. Here it comes now. We're back down to 38s. This is just a wild market. So as it relates to Coinbase, you can have your opinions. You can get emotional about it. Just separate that from your trades. That's all I'm telling you, because otherwise you're just going to get smoked. Meanwhile, Charlie Lee, if you didn't catch Charlie Lee, he's the founder of Litecoin. He used to work at Coinbase. Like a couple of days ago, he tweeted something about how, if my prediction for Coinbase listing is blah, blah, blah. And, if they were smart, they would list Bitcoin Cash on GDAX first and then go into Coinbase, because that's how they get liquidity first. And then they did it. So that looked super suspect. And Charlie Lee, I don't know Charlie Lee, but he's, he seems like a good guy. And, he's a pivotal part of crypto. He got reamed on Twitter for, saying that, and he's just like, I don't mean this in a negative way, but he got defensive. I mean that because he was like trying to defend himself, not because he, for any bad or negative connotation to that. And he got progressively more, and you could tell the attacks were coming more and more maliciously, and he could feel pressure, potentially even some legal pressure. And so he posted that he sold his Bitcoin Cash as soon as it listed. He's like, look, I did what I said I was going to do. And then he went even as far to post on Reddit that he sold all of his Litecoin. I think he has he kept a little bit, if I remember correctly, for like souvenirs or something. But this, I don't think this was a smart move on his part, to be perfectly honest. I think that because not for a few reasons. The first reason, one is this looks really bad. Because it's kind of like Vitalik Buterin, right? When Vitalik tweets whatever he tweets and it gets lost in translation. I think people who understand Charlie or Vitalik understand what they're trying to do. They understand their thought process, they understand who they are, and they can understand why they did this, right? To absolve themselves from any sort of ramifications. However, a vast majority of people, especially a vast majority of people in the finance industry, don't understand that. They think that people are driven completely by financial incentives, and by not owning any Litecoin, Charlie is now going to be less incentivized to make it work. So I think that you're going to see a lot of people in the finance community who are very bearish on Litecoin because of this, which may actually have the opposite effect. Not necessarily a price. Charlie doesn't care about price, but just on credibility of the ecosystem and things like that. So I don't, the amount is that's a small piece of the puzzle, right? He doesn't have like 6 million Litecoin or anything. So he's not moving the market. It's more that it's the founder, and the founder just dumped all of his own coins in what I would consider a highly emotional state. And I'm not saying anything negative about Charlie. I'm just saying this is what happened. It was how it looks, at least. And this is not like these, and the Bitcoin Cash and Litecoin, it makes you realize how this is all just a game of emotion. This is all a game of people. There is no Litecoin's better than Bitcoin Cash, or Bitcoin's worse than Bitcoin Core. I mean, you can have your opinions on it and you could talk about the tech, but when it comes to markets and it comes to pricing, it is all about people and all about emotions and decisions like this that drive behaviors of sorts. So it's just like wild to watch this happen, right? It's just like such an incredible, but also kind of insane thing that's going on in this entire world. So what does this all mean for you? I think that this means that Bitcoin Cash, whether you like it or not, is a legitimate hedge into your portfolio. Because for everybody that has ever bought into or ever opened a Coinbase account, now let's assuming Coinbase is still in business in a couple of months, everyone bought Litecoin because it was the cheapest. And then Ethereum, which was cheap, but it was kind of in its own department, right? It does different stuff. Now you have a third option, which has the Bitcoin brand that's cheaper than Bitcoin and also has a story where this is the currency and Bitcoin is a store of value. So now you have more choices, and that is a very, I mean, there's going to be millions of people that are going into Coinbase and making a decision. And whatever your personal opinion is on the tech and the big blocks and how it all works, it doesn't matter. People are going to buy it. It's going to go up. It just will. Unless there's some sort of regulatory huge exogenous event that makes this not work, like Coinbase decides to delist it, or they stop selling anything except for Bitcoin and Ethereum. I don't know. But it's going to go up because everything goes up in crypto. And the more eyeballs that people see, the more the price goes up. So it's pretty wild. Price on Bitcoin Cash is stabilizing for the most part. We're just going to keep watching this. make sure that this, nothing crazy happens until we get the volume bigger and bigger. It's, 14,000 right now at the volume. It's not bad, but, probably want to get that up to 50 before we make any real decisions. But that's what's going down. So if you're sitting on the sidelines, which I hope most of you are, I think the best thing to do, give this 24 hours, wait to see what the fallout is. But if you don't have any Bitcoin Cash, put it this way, if you don't have any Bitcoin Cash in your portfolio, I would encourage you to at least buy like 5% of your portfolio should be Bitcoin Cash, because it is going to be a very good hedge. Like, it is a good hedge against Bitcoin, but now it's in Coinbase. That is the bullish signal. I mean, there's nothing else more bullish than being listed on Coinbase, in my opinion. So, interesting times we live in. I think the other thing that happened yesterday, which I do not know the actual news for this, so if anybody does know the news for this, let me know, is that Verge went absolutely ballistic and has gone ballistic for the last week almost. I know John McAfee talked about it, but I remember this was at this was at 75 Satoshis at one point. I mean, it was at 1 Satoshi at one point, but now it's up to 791. And that's incredible. The only thing I could think of, or that I could find without finding any real news, is a theory we talked about on Monday or last week, where the cheap coins are the ones that pump. The cheaper the coin, the better. I mean, red coin, that's cheap. Look at that. That's a really cheap coin. That's pumping like crazy. Verge is one of the cheapest coins out there. If you go through, especially on Binance, but now on Bittrex as well, it's these super cheap coins that just pump like crazy. And I mean, I'm gonna keep looking and see if I can find a good reason. But price, I'm telling you, price is the reason why people buy stuff. All right. Last and not least, the tax bill that we've been talking about for the past few days, I guess, passed the House, passed the Senate. Everything is going to go. And this is, it is what it is. We don't get into politics. What this means for you guys is, one, you need to go to call your accountant or tax attorney or CPA or whoever it is that is your person. If you don't have a person, you should call somebody and hire them for an hour of their time to get some professional advice, because you cannot get professional advice from somebody on YouTube or on a podcast. All right? Definitely not from me. What this means is that, loosely speaking, this is not politically driven. This is just an objective look at the tax code. Individuals receive mixed benefits or I wouldn't say benefits. They get mixed impacts from an individual standpoint. Corporations, especially, and pass-through, flow-through income within corporations gets once in a lifetime tax benefits. Meaning, if you are an employee, or if you are your own person or whatever, you're getting a paycheck each month, it is incredibly beneficial for you to explore starting a company, maybe if you live in the United States, an S Corp or a single owner LLC, and starting to own assets through that company, especially your cryptocurrency. Because if your company owns that asset, that income is going to be taxed at a much lower rate. And then as it gets flowed through to you, you can take 20% off of that from your personal income rate, up to 170 if you're an individual and 350 if you're married. It's just, I mean, it's almost 2 times the savings if you run it through a company, flow through company, versus if you run it through, your own assets and you're just collecting short-term capital gains and you're not registered as a trading company. That is the big deal for Americans who are in cryptocurrency. Again, this is not pro advice. There is a lot of nuances that I do not know about. Go talk to your accountants, go talk to your lawyers, but realize that is a super, it does not get, from a tax standpoint, other than tax deferred assets and, private placement, life insurance policies, stuff like that, where you can get creative with it. This is as big of a savings you can get from a corporate standpoint. So take advantage of it, especially for 2018. Okay. Well, today, in the meantime, what we're going to do is, watch a little GDAX, as we say, GDAX and chill. And we'll always have any breaking news. Now that as things settle down, hopefully tomorrow we can do some sort of live stream or something, but we'll see how the markets go. I appreciate you guys being patient today. Very exciting times. And with that, I'm going to sign off. I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.